So to ask an investor to take that kind of risk and hope to get this money back in 20 years, it's almost impossible. So, you know, the kind of investors that you should be seeking is the more, as I said, philanthropic, that see it for a greater benefit. And state funds, state sort of seed money, and governmental funding, I think, is... Yep.
We have in the audience some people, you know, coming from Luxembourg. They were looking for projects. You need to talk to Cynthia afterward. Geoffrey, you have a question.
Yes, thank you. This is a very biased question. I'd like to ask my compatriot, Maria, what the marine bioproduct sector can provide, what benefits they can provide to the food sector.
Well, I believe the marine environment really is, as I said earlier, like it's a treasure trove of ingredients and potentially new ingredients. Because marine resources such as algae, macroalgae or seaweeds and microalgae, because they exist in such harsh environments, from a scientific point of view, the bioactive molecules found from these resources are quite different to those found in the terrestrial environment. So currently Nutrimara, the Marine Functional Foods Research Initiative, we're looking at mining these resources for new bioactives with new food applications. So, you know, because like say every company on the stage here, you know, they're involved in some aspect of mining and looking for new ingredients. So say Nadia's cosmetics industry, you require like novel antioxidants and things like that, you know, so the marine environment is the best environment to find those because of the stringent environment that the resource grows in. And I believe that for a food function, the marine environment has similar applications. So, you know, within Nutrimara, we're looking at mining seaweeds and microalgae and also marine rest raw materials from aquaculture pursuits for different bioactives. And these bioactives, I believe, can compete with bioactives isolated from other resources, such as those found in terrestrial plants and also from the dairy industry and things like that. So we're looking at mining for heart health bioactives, bioactives that have impact on mental health. What other ones? Those involved in disorders associated with metabolic syndrome, such as obesity, diabetes, and heart health. So I believe that this environment, it's a very unique and very novel resource, and Nutrimara itself is one of the first projects really to look at marine resources for this purpose, you know. So if it's a success, you know, you'll have new food products, and it really will mean that the marine environment is a key player in nutrition provision and further in the provision of functional foods, which are an ever-evolving and growing market presently. So, Maria, does that answer your question? Sorry.
How do you address the issue of growing population, the need for nutrients coming more and more from the oceans, and is what you are providing simply for the byproducts, or is it also a form of feeding people?
Well, I knew you were actually going to ask me that, and the original question, you know, whether the blue environment provides a nutrition answer for our societies. I think it's really a two-tiered question. If you're talking about nutrition in terms of do marine resources provide nutritional benefits, you know, do they have high protein, unique lipids, unique bioactive molecules and nutrition components, then yes, I do believe they do. But if you're talking about feeding the world masses, you know, that's a different scenario altogether. And I think as well, speakers earlier in the day, they spoke about volume and upscale. And these are two very big hurdles for the blue marine economy if it's going to have a nutrition, you know, application. But I think that we have to work closely with all research disciplines. You know, you need phycologists, you need food chemists and food scientists. You need the different disciplines, and really working together in synergy. I think we will come up with some answers, but the problem of scale, technologies, and volume and economics, of course, something that I don't like to talk about as a researcher, but of course the economics of it are very important as well, you know. So if we can apply economic methods to upscale, say, protein production, yes, I think we do have a solution in the marine environment for that. But again, it's investment, and I think personally it's the job of governments and public funding to do that, you know, and then when it's at a certain stage that it should be taken up by private investors, you know. But a lot of criticism is targeted at public sector things, but really public sector and private investor methods would be the way I would go about it for the future, you know.
Now, you wanted to comment?
Just follow up on that question to Maria. Do you think there's any potential for application to solving the feed sustainability issues, whether it's for aquaculture or for livestock feed, or in that component, that protein component? Do you think that could?
Yes, I do actually, Lara. You know, there are several marine processors, and we heard from some of them earlier in some of the earlier sessions. And yourself, Lara, you're in aquaculture and production of sea bass, I believe, you know, in a sustainable manner. You know, from processing, there is a waste stream. And waste streams can be viewed as a waste, or they can be seen as a resource, in my opinion. So if you handle your processing techniques in the correct manner, and if you utilize your waste stream, you know, and have a consistent waste stream, then I believe that there is an answer in terms of sustainability for aquaculture purposes, you know. You have, in some waste streams, you have high protein content, you have high fatty acid content, things like that. So who's to say that if you're processing fish, you take what is considered discard or byproduct, or what I like to call marine rest raw material, and you use that as an actual ingredient, you know, for fish feed manufacture. You assess it for levels of polyunsaturated fatty acids and proteins and things like that, and then it can actually impart a health benefit to your fish, you know, the health of your fish, and then from there it's transferred to the consumer. And often you could manipulate it so that the fish itself would have a functional food aspect, you know, considering what you may feed the fish. Also, I know marine algae, for example, trout found in salt water, the marine environment, the sea, as opposed to trout found in non-salt water, freshwater. They have higher levels of polyunsaturated fatty acids, you know. So trials have been conducted recently, 2009, I think it was, concerning this topic, and it was found that feeding trout marine algae rich in omega-3s could actually alter the level of polyunsaturated fatty acids in the fish. And polyunsaturated fatty acids in fish are known to have a bioactive claim, and actually I think a health claim, an actual European Food Safety Authority approved health claim has been associated.
It'll pass now in September.
Yeah, with DHA and EPA. So in that respect, yes, I think the marine environment does solve nutrition issues. So sorry.
Thank you.
We're actually going to try, Lara just started this, and it's a perfect time. We're going to ask our panelists to ask another panelist a question, and then we'll pass the questions on to the audience. So actually, Maria, if you could ask somebody on the panel a question that you're interested in. And explain why.
I'd like to ask Nadia a question. Sorry, Nadia. But I just mentioned there about the regulations, and nobody likes to talk about regulations, but if you're in the food industry, there are several regulations now that are part of innovation, if you like the European Food Safety Authority under the European Commission have introduced legislation regarding health claims and novel food claims with regards to bioactive components and what health claim a functional food producer can actually put on their product. So my question for you is, I know there's similar regulation in the pharmaceutical sector, but say to protect the consumer, of cosmetics and things like that. What regulations exist regarding the proven scientific benefits of a product, in relation to the marine? And it's something I want to know as a consumer and a scientist as well.
Thank you, Maya.
So,
Small question, Maria. Thank you.
No, it's don't worry, they don't leave us alone either. So we are highly regulated. The bodies of the regulators is the FDA, which is the same as yours. So we have that in common. In Europe is COLIPA. We have many agencies that are making sure that we claim exactly what we can prove. So in my business, of course, it has to be visible effect. I mean, when women spend money on any cosmetic product, they want to see with their own eyes what are the results. And they believe the promises that the manufacturers, such as myself, are making. We cannot just invent any claim and tell the customer you will get less wrinkles in 3 weeks. We have to prove it by efficacy testing, a whole battery of tests that we have to submit and have to be at the ready because we get audited on a regular basis. What makes it very difficult is probably like in your business, is that we are marketed in 83 countries. There are not 2 that are alike, other than the EC, thank God, and even the French are trying to always be different and set, excuse me, but they do make, and I'm French, they do make their own rules, so we have to prove on top certain things. So when it comes to the consumer, the only thing that they can see is what we declare on the boxes, which are very small, and in what we call the leaflets inside. Other than that, there is no way for them to really know. But we do have services that can answer to the customers if they call anything they want to know about our product, if there is allergens, if there is any products that that are not safe, or colorants that they heard we're not really recommendable. So we live like in a glass ball, basically, and we are just as regulated as the drug, because we are also part of the Food and Drug and Cosmetic Administration. So at least we have that in common.
Thank you, Nadia. We're going to jump in the audience, and so there's a question from here. Can you pass the mic?